Winter is coming.
Where are my dragons?
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
The things I do for love.
A Lannister always pays his debts.
Chaos is a ladder.
Hodor.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
We
are the Rewatchers on the wall. You know why they call me Giantsbane? It's because when I was 10 years old, I killed a giant. And then I took his wife. And when she woke up, you know what she did to me? She nursed me at the tit. And I drank all of her milk. And that's where I got my strength.
That turned into a half-ass Palpatine by the end.
Do it. I became the Lord of the Sith.
I love how, like, the way that story plays out is it kind of feels like what you tell a 10-year-old to make them, like, drink their milk. They're like, yeah, you know what makes you real strong? Giant's milk.
Tormund's gonna be such a good dad. I guess he already is a dad. He's talked about that. And, like, where are they?
I don't know.
He's like, I have, like, 6 daughters. And I'm like, all right, you're a horrible dad.
Welcome to Rewatchers on the Wall. Season 8, Episode 2 is what we just watched on the old tube. I've never called it that out loud before.
I mean, I think you specifically watched Game of Thrones on the boob tube.
Yeah, I've been watching it on an old cathode ray tube television. It's a real pain in the ass to set up, but man, seeing it the way it was meant to be seen is the way to go.
Those little circle screens.
We're missing Mitchell Marshall. He is on assignment at Eastwatch. I don't know what's another
Florida Watch.
Florida Watch.
That might be more dangerous.
Yeah. But we are joined by
My neighbor.
yes, Tyler's neighbor.
My next door neighbor.
We canvassed the neighborhood. We actually just looked in the front windows to see who was watching Game of Thrones, and then knocked on their doors. And Justin was kind enough to join us. Thanks for joining us, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
Justin, how do you like my basement?
It's actually pretty cool.
It is cool.
It feels cool to be down here hanging out.
We call it.
I know you've always wondered.
I mean, when we're recording, we usually just call it the crypt because we all feel safe down here.
Yes.
But yeah, well, and that gets us to our episode. Let's find out everything that happened in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, let's brand this shit. Let's revisit everything. All right. Season 8, Episode 2, everything that happened. Dany presides over Jaime's hearing. Jaime refuses to apologize. Brienne vouches for him, and Sansa says that he can stay. Dany rebukes Tyrion. Arya pesters Gendry. Jaime visits Bran in the Godswood, and Bran continues to be weird. Tyrion and Jaime talk about Dany. Brienne tries to keep it cool when Jaime visits her at work. Jorah pleads Tyrion's case with Dany. Dany and Sansa talk and make up for a nanosecond, and then they undo that real quick. Theon arrives at Winterfell. Daenerys gives out soup and pep talks. Ed and Tormund and Beric arrive at Winterfell, and Tormund still wants to smash. The Night King wants the Raven. Bran volunteers as bait. Grey Worm tells Missandei that he will take her home. The Watch reminisces, and Ed totally owns Sam, like a lot. Jaime and Tyrion drink and then are joined by the rest of the non-Stark All-Stars. Tormund tells his hotly anticipated origin story. Arya and the Hound have another underwhelming reunion. Then Beric shows up and Arya leaves. Gendry gives Arya her weapon, then he gives her his weapon. Heyo! Jorah and Lyanna argue. Sam gives Jorah the Tarly sword. Pod sings a song. Jon breaks the news about his heritage to Dany, and the Night King shows up. And that's it. That was everything. Well, that's most of everything.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, should we start at Winterfell?
Let's start at Winterfell.
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's start at King's Landing, because I think we can wrap that up pretty quick. So,
no,
everyone, just all your thoughts about King's Landing?
No elephants. Still disappointed about that.
Still waiting on those elephants.
Oh man, they're really teasing us with that one. I think the build-up.
How
is
amazing would that be? He's
really
like,
worth it.
"Hey, just kidding, I brought him."
It's like a Mary Poppins bag and just pulls elephants out of it.
It starts with the trunk just. Yeah. So let's start at Winterfell. Let's just start at the top with where we left off with last week was Jaime.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of where we pick up this time is with Jaime on sort of trial, more just like
Yeah.
an informational meeting.
It's like a
it's kinda
social justice trial.
yeah, exactly. To see if he gets to come and stab dead things with his sword, which I don't know. I kind of figure it's one of those things you don't really turn anyone away at this
Yeah.
point. But yeah, any thoughts on Jamie's situation and that all that stuff?
I feel like we've heard that story a lot, and I didn't feel like we needed to revisit it, but we did again.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, we've gone through this exact same thing with Varys, and there's one other character I can't remember in season 6. Was it season 7? Maybe beginning of season 7.
Oh, like yeah, Danny
And-
loves this shit.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I feel like she learned her lesson there. Like, look, people have a past, but right now it doesn't matter, you know. And that just felt like treaded ground as well. It's like that same story, the same theme, and part of me is wondering. We've seen over the past 2 seasons now, especially this season and the end of last, is Dany's becoming more unlikable by the episodes, I feel like. And I feel like they're doing it on purpose because of my prediction that she is going to die before the end of this. That makes it like easier for like the
Sorry, that was my new
We need to get a
soundboard.
keyboard.
I just
for our
I wanted to get all these things set up.
But yeah, no, I think they're just kind of easing the audience into that a little bit more to accept it a little bit more. I think it's a weird. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also kind of a not cheap tactic. I'll say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But that's what I'm kind of getting from. I'm like, man, because I really kind of would be fine. I mean, not necessarily fine with her dying because she's annoying, but like, I won't be as invested if it happens. I won't be as like, oh man.
Well,
like,
I guess my main thing with her too at this point is really everything that I feel like progresses her lies after this battle. Like it's always been about the throne for her, and like since she isn't pursuing that right now, I feel like it's a weird spot for her to be in. Like I'm not sure. Yeah, it feels kind of meaningless. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird state for her to be in for sure. But I will say we did get to see Brienne the first time this season, which was really nice. And she vouched for him. Tyrion vouched for him. And then, and then Brienne was like, basically, well, you guys wouldn't be here if it was, if he hadn't done what he did. And so that was kind of a nice thing. It was cool to see them like together again and all that.
do we want to stick with Brienne for a bit? She got a lot of screen time this episode. I feel like
Yes.
particularly she probably has the most out of any like side character, I would say. And then the next scene she's in is when Jaime's talking with Tyrion, and then he's on top of the wall, and he sees her down there, and then he goes and talks to her. She's kind of setting up the battle plans for that area, her region where she's in command, and she kind of asks him what his deal is, I guess. I don't know. People give a lot of answers in this season that I'm not satisfied with, and that was one of them. It's like, what's your deal? He's like, well, I couldn't fight how I used to, so I came here to specifically be under your command. I'm like, no, what?
Yeah.
You went because your army was promised, and then seriously told them no. So
Your
you still want
girlfriend's
them.
sister's a psycho bitch. Like, you finally realize it. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little weird, but it was like I was just happy to see him again. Like I do think in the I don't know, the pantheon of Game of Thrones duos, they're up there for me as far as like people I enjoy seeing on screen together, and like that I just enjoy their chemistry. They're just good. So, and Pod's getting good at fighting.
Pod aged like he became a 40-year-old man overnight.
Honestly, watching him, like, oh yeah, that guy owns land somewhere around here.
He yells at people for walking on that land. That's what I was thinking.
Get off my land.
He whacks him with his wooden practice sword that he's very good with for some unknown reason. But yeah, so that was really interesting, and I think kind of as far as other Jaime reunions, him and Tyrion was another one that was expected and went about how I thought it was going to. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the story of this series between them has just been them like some crazy shit happening and then them resetting to zero at some point
Yep.
and getting drunk together.
Yep.
It's just always fun. And then I guess the other notable thing, Jamie's reunion, should we call it, with Bran?
Yeah.
Or the Raven? I don't know. He went out of his
Yeah.
way to tell us he
Raven
wasn't
Simone.
Brandon Stark anymore. Yeah.
That's right.
He was invited onto The View and hung out with Raven Simone. It's a good time.
That's so Raven. But yeah, and that was kind of an interesting thing because it is. I mean, Bran didn't bring up. I'm kind of glad they had that scene because I'd kind of forgotten. I'm like, oh yeah, no one knows about that. Like,
Yeah.
no one still knows that Jamie is the one that threw
Yeah,
him. out of
Catelyn
that
knew, but
thing.
now she's dead.
Right.
So it's
yeah.
like,
So yeah, it was interesting, and he's like, oh, it's crazy you didn't tell anyone about that, and he's like, yeah, well, they would have killed you, and we need as many sharp things pointed at the bad guys as possible. So, even though
oh
you've
man,
only got one
that
hand.
part during his trial when Bran's just like, the things we do for love, and then it's just this awkward silence.
Oh.
I bet like everyone at Winterfell's just like, okay, so he's kind of special. Like, there's just like, he says these things, he blurts out sometimes,
Well,
but
it's kind of the Raven cried wolf situation at this point because like Bran just says so much weird shit
Yeah.
that like
Mm-hmm.
you're
Well,
not gonna listen.
and we talked
when
about
he
last
says
episode. I'm pissed that
something.
no one like wants to know more.
Yeah.
No one asks him like, hey, how do you know this? Or hey, why are you saying this weird shit? Like,
Yeah,
It's just accepted.
yeah, Tyrion. Thank goodness that Tyrion was the only person to be like, look, I want to know things. Or-
yeah.
And so like we didn't get to see it, but I'm glad that someone actually finally did that.
Yeah, that was interesting. And like even at this episode too, a little bit later, kind of when they're planning, Sam asks him, he's like, "So what the hell's up with this Night King guy?" He's like, "Oh, he wants me, and he wants an endless night." And he's like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool." Like, but at least he was asking, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think Sam at least is the only person, probably one of the only people there who like, besides Tyrion, who has even like prodded a little bit more
Yeah.
with Bran.
For sure.
And has had some evidence that he has something special about him. Whereas I'm just floored that everyone else in that room is like, oh yeah, let's plan all around this kid.
Yeah, yeah,
Sam's reaction to the Night King being, he's being told about the Night King is the writers portraying what they hope the audience accepts as the Night King's reasons for why he's doing everything that he's doing.
right.
Like,
yeah.
we're all just like, oh, okay, that's all the backstory we get,
Cool.
all
Yeah.
the backstory we need. Let's go with it. Sounds great. Okay, he's a bad guy.
Oh, he is bad. He wants nighttime forever. But when will we do our sports? This cannot be. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Which I'm kind of glad. When we talked about this a little bit, I'm kind of glad. I'm hoping that wraps up a little bit in this next episode.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely the stuff I don't care as much about, I guess.
I've actually found myself caring more about it, but not in a like lore type of way. In a more of like, this has been building for so long. I'm ready
Right.
to see if this is worth
just
everything.
if the payoff is there.
And I know I'm pretty. And if people don't, if a large number of characters do not die in this next episode, I will be upset and think it was kind of a waste.
Yeah.
Because it's like then they don't feel like a true threat.
What's the point? Yeah.
Like they've been this huge threat for so long, and if only like 2 characters die that we know and love, then I'm gonna be like, you've wasted a lot of my life.
Yeah. Well, and that's honestly what I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I imagine something will have to happen over the course of the next episode that will shift a lot of the paradigm of key characters and stuff to shift that focus, because I feel like going into the last, like the stuff with the throne at the end, there's got to be more to that. There has to be a couple more tricks or turns in that to make that interesting and kind of pay that off. But yeah, anyone else? Anyone want to talk about a character that stood out to you? Or you're interested in, other than after Jamie?
Do we want to touch on Arya at all?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
You want to get into that?
Yeah.
How weird it was.
Yeah,
I had to.
You made it. Nice.
I just feel icky. I don't know.
It is. It is. Yeah, it's weird.
It was a weird choice.
I think it feels really weird too because in a show where the 96% of the characters have a very sexual aspect to them, Arya has never had that, and it feels weird. Well,
we talked about her being asexual, possibility of her being asexual before,
which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. I think that I don't think this is a poor reading on that character, or it does any disservice to the character at all. But I'm gonna have to adjust to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. How it happened, I feel like, was still very in character. She was more like, "This is what I want, and I'm taking it."
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And so there's at this point, at least, we don't know. It's like, is she like I don't feel like she's going to be like, "Oh, we should be together now after all
Right,
this,"
yeah.
right? I
That's
feel
true.
like it's just, hey, I want to have sex. You got nice forearms. Let's do this, and then I've got
forearms,
people to kill.
the main component of sexual intercourse.
All the foreshadowing that's going on with pointy things being stuck into things throughout the entire show as well.
Yeah.
It's just over and over
her
and
just
over
throwing
again.
those spear
Yeah,
tips.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
I'm
man,
over, this is so blatant, man.
a lot of
arrows.
tension. When she's like, "It's gonna be our last time in this world. I want to know what it's like one last time." I'm like, man, so I'm a male, but from what I've heard, that first time ain't the most pleasant for women. So
Yeah.
it's like, you're in for a disappointment. I'm sorry. You're in for a really awkward situation to like.
Yeah, if you're, I mean, I think I would say this for anyone. If you're looking to experience sex before the end, plan ahead.
Yeah.
Give yourself 5 days so you can have a couple runs at it.
Yeah.
Kind of figure out what is going on,
And then pretend like you didn't, and come in with those lines like, "It's our last night. I want to know what it's like to be with a blacksmith."
With a Baratheon.
Yeah,
Andrew
that's-
totally lied about how many people he'd had sex with before, too. There's no way it was only 3.
I mean, if you're in Flea Bottom, the choices you have down there, I might keep it to 3.
He was on that boat for a while too, so
That's
we don't
true.
know how long.
Are
he was
you
back
saying
before
that he was in there so long that it just sucked away any time that he would have had to sleep with more than 3?
Oh, I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, there's no one there.
I mean, he's alone on
You can't
that boat.
count yourself,
I
Riley.
mean, well, but you got 2 hands.
Oh yeah, I've done George and Martin over here.
He's like 3 women, 2 mermaids, 1 seagull.
The seagull was unwilling.
Oh no.
I initially was just gonna eat it. Okay.
So anyway,
So yeah, so that happens. That's basically Ari gets a cool spear that she designed.
Okay, so
also is the
from
other
what we
thing,
saw of
right?
the drawing, right, there were multiple pieces. It looked like, right?
Yeah.
So correct me if you can't correct me because you don't know, but
Oh, I do.
tell me if you
and
think,
I will.
Okay, tell me if you think this is. I'm going somewhere with this, right? My theory is that it shoots. Like she presses a trigger and the top goes. It's like spring loaded, right? And she's gonna kill the Night King with that. Like it's gonna be like this desperate situation. She's trying to break the line with some other people, maybe. And he's off in the distance watching
killing
it,
prediction.
and they're all gonna die. I'm gonna try not to laugh when you do that, so it just sounds like it's
like I
like,
put it in
what?
after.
he put it in post.
And yeah, then she's like gonna be like super far away, about to die, and then press it, and then right into his chest. All the army of the dead falls down, and yeah.
So you're okay.
So that's my prediction. Arya kills
Night King.
the Night King
I'd be
with
down for that.
the Addle.
Arya in the crypts with the Addle. Cool. Yeah. So Arya, that was basically kind of
That's-
everything that happened with her, right?
It's Chuck the Hound.
Oh,
A little
Stuck
bit
the
more.
Hound.
for a
Yeah, we should talk
second.
about that. How was that for you, Riley? I know that that's a reunion that you would. We were kind of underwhelmed by last week when they
Yeah,
saw each other briefly.
I just wanted this conversation to be a little longer because I feel like it could have been and it would have been fine. And so I was bummed that they got interrupted so quickly because I felt like they were just kind of getting past the awkward, like, beginnings, and she was about to start, like, talking to him for real, and then Barrick showed up and
What
ruined
was
it.
there? Did you like what was there?
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it, because I feel like the reunion last week, it just felt really, really cold. And I knew that wasn't, like, I wasn't going to be okay if that's how they were going to play it out the rest of the time. So I'm glad that we kind of got to see them get a little more comfortable with each other. But I still want more from the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly thought that it was going to get more time.
Yeah, I think it should have.
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
actually would have. It would have erased like my negative feelings towards the previous episode if they would have just gone a little bit longer, and like even just her like asking him how he got to that. That would have been what I wanted. Them asking each other how
Yeah.
they got to that point and giving like just brief synopsis of that, or even her asking him giving, because his isn't as long. Him kind of explaining out, then him asking her, and then kind of cut away referencing that she does tell him. Like I would have been fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like there's enough unfinished stuff there. I don't know, and maybe stuff happens during the battle. I guess that's the big thing
I
I'm
just really
interested
thought of
in
that
is
too.
like
There's fire, and he has to go through it to save her.
right, yeah. It's been a while.
This is
since,
contradicting my last week's prediction of Brienne being an undead warrior and then a rematch between them. And, I actually like that better. So no, I don't want this Arya thing to happen. I want the undead Brienne rematch.
Undead Brienne rematch. That sounds like a card for like WWE SummerSlam or something. The Undead rematch. Yeah. So that was. I mean, I liked her stuff just fine. There wasn't a ton of it. Let's talk a little bit about Sansa. She's another one that doesn't have a ton, but I think that the stuff that's there, I actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
Way more than I have enjoyed her character in a long
This
time.
is the Sansa that I think. Still, I don't feel like it's earned based on previous seasons. But what was there, I was all on board for.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt better. She felt like she had a commanding presence, and like, I don't know. It was just,
It didn't feel like being bitchy just to be bitchy.
Yeah.
Like it felt a lot more genuine.
Yeah, and particularly in the scene when Dany comes in to talk to her, and they have this moment where like you can kind of hear the beginning refrains of "Sisters, never were the two devoted sisters," like coming in the background, and then says like, "Oh yeah, but so you're gonna be queen. What about the North, bitch?" And it gets cold so quick. And yeah, that stuff was delightful. I was really glad to see that, and because I think we talked about the biggest thing I feel like I've had with Sansa is that we don't get to see her doing the cool stuff. We just see her after she's seemingly done a bunch of stuff. And she shows up, and it feels so weird. So I was glad to see that. And I think, honestly, her reunion with Theon was, to me, like one of the best reunions we've seen this season, which was weird because I didn't expect it to be.
Yeah.
But I feel like they just gave it just the right amount of like emotional weight and reality. I don't know. It was a really touching moment to me in this episode that I didn't expect for it to play out that way. So, but yeah. Anything else with Sansa?
No,
that was all
that's
that
it.
she
And then it just
did,
shows
yeah.
her eating with him later during the
Oh,
song.
yeah,
It's
during
like,
the
Spending some
song.
time with them.
yeah, weird thing to happen. She's probably the only Stark who will ever get to that point with him, just because he saved her.
Right.
I don't think anyone else can ever come to that point. I don't think, honestly, I'm at a point where like I think he's irredeemable, technically. Not that I don't ever want him on screen or anything, and I think he's doing everything he needs to do to, like, from a moral standpoint, like, if you find yourself in that situation where you've burned two boys, and betrayed your best friends and their family, those are the things you have to do at that point to, like, just, I don't even know what, to make me want you dead less, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's a list of things you can do to make me want you dead less. Save your sister. Don't run away when your sister's initially kidnapped. Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, because I do feel like with this episode we're seeing so many people, like you're seeing everyone come back basically. Like everyone is just showing up at Winterfell, and I'm really interested to see how they work all those pieces together, especially in the next episode, because I do feel like they're people who are going to fulfill a very specific purpose in this next episode that will be surprising, kind of what we expected. I'd be surprised if Beric makes it out of this battle alive, just because I don't know what else he does.
We did discuss last week, like, it better be something important, though. Like, he needs to do
Right.
something
Yeah.
important. They even, like, hinted at that a little bit this episode. He's like, what's the point of bringing you back if I just chuck you over this wall? Like, type of thing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, even with them, especially with them pointing it out this episode, I'm like, he better do something.
Yeah,
Some
because I
big-
do feel like this is his place. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? In my mind, at least, like, I don't really see Beric serving a meaningful purpose in a new government anywhere. Like, that guy's been dead 9 times. He just doesn't have the same experience as any of his constituents. So yeah, I really feel like this is his time for whatever he's going to do, whatever, you know, his purpose is for being back.
Killing dead things.
Yeah. Killing dead things.
The new album by Dead Brienne.
Once you know how to bring something back to life, you know even better how to take life from it. But yeah, so that was great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before I talk about what my favorite stuff was. Of just the
we got a
room
little
and-
bit, a tiny bit of Jorah
Yeah.
being a good counselor to Danny again, as well as his. I'm glad they showed his exchange with. Why can't I think of her first name?
Liana.
Lady Mormont. Is it Liana Mormont?
Yeah.
yeah,
Liana
Liana Mormont.
Mormont.
And I didn't think they were going to. It was an interaction I wanted to see.
Yeah.
It wasn't as long as I was kind of hoping for, but at the same time, it's smart not to waste that time on that. They
Yeah.
gave it the right amount of time, but him trying to be like, look, you're the future of our house. You're the only like highborn left, like besides me, but I'm a piece of shit. So you got to hide in the basement. And she's like, I'm not hiding in the basement. I'm gonna fight because I'm more of a man than you. And he's like, okay. And
Touche.
and then she like leaves with her posse. And then Sam comes in and is like, hey, I don't know how to use a sword. Here's a sword. It's a really good sword.
Valyrian
And
steel.
then walks away and then turns around and says, oh yeah, I hope we win. And
I will say 2 characters that have a connection that literally you can't find 2 other characters in this show that are connected in the same way as a man who had his stone skin like cut off inch by inch by this other man. Like that is that's a unique relationship.
It's
for this
Trained by
show.
that man's father too.
Right, yeah.
it's like, it's like seeing someone naked you didn't want to see naked, and they weren't planning on it, and then you both have to share that shame, like going forward. And every time you see each other, it's in the back of your minds, but you don't ever mention it.
Yeah. And because of that you're at least real good friends.
Yeah.
You're like level 2 friends.
And you saved their life while they were naked. But all you can think about is that they were naked.
But you also hurt them like incredibly. Like you caused them a lot of pain.
I'm gonna get you dressed, and it's gonna hurt you more than it hurts me.
You know, thinking about it, this might be the most complex relationship anyone has in this show. Yeah, so that was great.
There's Sir Davos with the soup line
Gosh, yes, thank you. I've
And
forgotten
Tilly
about that.
on that.
I loved that scene. That was
Yeah,
like one of my
that was
favorite
really good.
scenes.
Yep. Sir Davos is one of my favorite characters, so
Yeah.
It's really good.
anything with him, I'm all over that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's great in this episode because I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, Davos doesn't fight really. Like, and he serves an entirely different. He's like a really unique person in that way. There aren't many people who have survived in this world and risen to the places they are without fighting. Even Tyrion, you know, like did his. He was in the trenches for a while.
He's had a
you
couple
know?
fights. Yeah.
Yeah, and so But yeah, that scene with him with that little girl was like. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is a little precious," and then I was like, "Oh no, it's very precious."
Well, and then there's those guys, the soldiers before that he serves, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Where do we go?" or "What's going to happen?" I can't remember exactly what they ask, and
They're like,
he's
"We're
like,
not fighters."
yeah, he tells them, "I've survived. I've done all this stuff. I've survived. If I can survive, you'll survive." And like,
Yeah.
just his facial expression of like, these guys are so screwed.
Yeah.
and like. I don't know. I could go off on some pretty deep stuff about how I'm feeling about death and life and everything right now. That's a different story. So, but that moment spoke to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of those people who's insignificant. So, I felt seen in that scene.
Good. Well, I think the other great thing about Davos is that he is a character who will tell people the truth they need in the moment. You know what I mean?
He's like
very,
the Oracle from the Matrix.
Yeah, he's very good at knowing, in the way that Stannis was not. Stannis was very much just a true shotgun constantly, especially on your grammar. You better have all your comments in the right place. Davos, I think that's one of the things, like, I think he genuinely, like, cares for people in a way that is fairly unique on the show, too. But yeah, great scene.
New prediction. All right, you ready?
New prediction.
All right.
Unknown category.
Stannis is a smuggler, right? He can't fight. What's he gonna do here? So he just paints his skin white. He goes white
What are we
face.
talking about?
And Davos.
Oh, okay.
And he gets a
Got
cart
it.
full of all the women in the basement are sewing dolls. And he fills this cart full up of white dolls, or just dolls that look like babies. And he goes,
or as the Night King calls them, currency.
and he goes out to the enemy lines. He sneaks around back, and he comes up, and he's like, "Oh, just making a delivery of future White Walkers."
Looks like we missed a village up north. There's a bunch of babies.
And he's just shooting the shit with like the Night King generals, like delivering these babies, and they start to get a little suspicious. It starts to fall apart a little bit, but they're so distracted. And that's when John comes in with the dragon.
I feel like this is the plot of a Don Knotts movie.
Seriously.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sticking to it.
you
I'm
heard
dead
it here
Brienne, smuggling babies.
Now let's get a timestamp on that. It is the night of the second episode, so it's April 21st. Just to make sure. I'm holding up the newspaper right now for camera, so we can confirm when this becomes true. But yeah, let's talk about Dany's stuff real quick, and then let's talk about that room of
let's save that one
shenanigans.
for the
It's
end.
so good. So Dany talks to just about everyone. She has plenty of people coming and being like, "Listen, Tyrion, he's cool, man." And so you need to be cool with him because he's cool, man. And
Sounds
then,
like junior high all over again.
yeah. Listen, Tyrion gave me milk when I forgot my lunch. He's cool. But yeah, like I feel like a lot of her stuff was just walking around being like, I can't get no respect. Walking around the north,
Just Rodney
get no
Dangerfield
respect. And I think like her scene with Sansa we talked about was good. Sansa definitely wins that scene for me. Because she is cutting right through the political bullshit.
Yeah,
that
Dany. It almost felt like Dany was like very insincere and very like almost like Cersei-esque in her.
She's super glad handy
Yeah.
of like, look at us,
Yeah.
2 women
Yeah.
ruling.
We share lots of things. We have the same genitalia, and there's this short black-haired man in our lives, so we have everything in common.
I will say, if anyone ever says, look at us, 2 unlikely leaders, and both doing a damn good job, if I might say so myself. Like, she actually says, like, and doing a damn fine job. It's like, your bullshit meter.
You sound like a politician from the 50s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what it feels. That's the energy she brought into
Yeah.
that, I feel like. And it's so gross. I really, it was such a weird thing. And then for Sansa just to totally set that bridge on fire in a spectacular way. And yeah, I mean, they're doing a great job at setting up a bunch of things that are like, these are the things you should be thinking about as we go into this battle. Like all these important things that are going to be decided afterwards. Because they do the same thing with her scene with John.
Saved by the Horn.
Yeah, exactly. She goes down into the crypt and she's like, can't believe my brother raped that girl. And he's like, actually, he didn't. And they had a child. And that child is me. And she's like, oh, so you're going to take my chair now? And then the Night King shows up. I was like, at least
A beautiful summarization.
that's my game. That's what I'm here for. But like that was, yeah. I do think it's good to know that all that stuff is at least out in the open, so that once this battle is over, we can really hit the ground running. Kind of whatever state this battle leaves everything in.
I want to know how you guys feel about it, because I was kind of dreading that scene and how they were going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, like, especially with the last episode and the horrible interactions between them, directed by George Lucas, apparently. And yeah, so I was like, man, that's going to be a rough scene, and it's not going to have the weight because of just how things have been going lately with dialogue writing and performances. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. Yeah. That was actually one of the few moments in the show where I actually got chills. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, it's not like one of my top 10 moments in the show. Like, it probably should have been based on what's happening.
It was a good moment. I agree.
But I thought it was handled really well. And I am very happy that it didn't get screwed up.
The placement of that scene in the episode itself worked really well. Just, there's so much that could have happened, and the fact that nothing really did, I think, is really good. Like, it just had to be paused immediately. Like, no reaction, really. Is Danny finds out, she tells him, there's like a little hint, she's like, sows a little bit of suspicion, maybe with like, your best friend and your brother told you this. Isn't that kind of suspicious? And John's like, I know it's true. I believe it. And then it's to the wall.
Well, gotta get to class, so see ya.
Yeah.
Night King is going to be so pissed if I'm late. Yeah, I agree. I think, and I'm glad that it's kind of out in the open now, because I guess at the end of last episode, I was kind of dreading the implications of what that was going to be.
Yeah.
Because I saw that kind of going away in the latter half of this season. That I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just isn't. I don't love that conclusion to this. And so for them to kind of get it out in the open, and for John to actually just make the decision to do it and tell her, I think is important. And yeah, I thought it was handled well. So
it could have happened in Pillow Talk. That would have been awkward.
Oh gosh. Auntie.
Auntie Downey. Man, what a ring to it. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to have that be on her mind over the next, about to happen in the next few hours for her.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more weight on her than on John, honestly, mentally.
Yeah. Well, and you have also in this episode, not long before that, she's like, I really trust that little short man.
Yeah.
That I love also. And so, does she actually? You know what I mean? With this new information, does she actually trust him?
Yeah. And that, she immediately jumped to, oh, so you have the claim to the throne. Are you going to take that? Like, that kind of showed she doesn't trust him as much as she tells people that she does.
Right.
And I wonder if Tyrion's now knowing about Bran's details of his life now is also going to be more of another testament to that, so to speak.
Yeah, true. Because she has also kind of had to come around on being like, okay, it's cool. Tyrion, you're cool. Like, I trust you, and I don't want you to go into the battle because I need you,
Need your brain.
Yeah. I need that sweet brain.
Kyber,
it's been Kyber the whole
face
time.
just comes up.
Oh, no, wait, he's pulling another one off.
It's Jacket.
He's two-masking it. No one is ever two-masked.
Faces are flying everywhere.
He truly is the greatest.
Announcers, like sports announcers.
Look at him go.
History is made tonight.
it's funny because
It's a new NBA record. The only man to ever wear 2 masks at one time while being in Westeros after eating 2 pastries for dinner.
I will say it is weird because they don't have any audio recording equipment, so it is just Samwell Tarly writing everything down and trying to capture the energy of it. Which
It's him and Gilly up on the wall just watching it all happen and talking about it.
Yes.
I like the visual of Sam being the stat man. This is pretty great.
He's like, if I'm in the crypt, there's no way I'll get these spreadsheets filled out in a satisfactory way. Yeah, so let's talk about one of my favorite rooms. Some of my favorite people talking in that room.
Yeah. The subtitle for this podcast.
Yes. Get back to people talking in rooms. Make rooms talk again. Yeah, so this is like the best. I feel like this is the best case scenario for a party. Unplanned, just you and like your homie drinking, and then like other people just show up who are also super cool, and you all just drink together and contemplate what it's going to be like to be a dead army person tomorrow. Because let's just list off who comes in. So it starts out Jaime and Tyrion.
Mm-hmm.
Brienne comes in.
With
Brienne and
Pod.
Pod. Yep. Which anytime Pod and Tyrion can be in the same room, I'm just like, oh, remember all those times that you had?
Yeah.
How cool they were. Davos comes in and Tormund comes in, right?
Yes.
Is that everyone?
Davos Tormund.
That's it.
Yeah. That's everyone.
Yeah, I think that is everyone.
Yeah. Just really like, this is a good lineup. Like, this is a good starting lineup for talking.
Our NBA team.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, there's a couple moments to talk about. Let's start with Tormund, because
I
he
love
had
him so
several
much.
moments throughout this
Yeah.
episode that just he became the comedic relief in a way that is like works incredibly well for this show at this point.
Yeah, this season's doing some things comedically or even non-comedically, just like I don't know, some of the other tonal stuff that like I should hate, but is somehow working.
Yeah,
It's not Game of Thrones, but I like
they're
it.
making weird
Yeah.
choices, and they're landing for me in cool ways. But yeah, his line of "Is the big woman still here?" Wonderful. I'm trying to
This
remember
like
the line.
crazed look on his face whenever he's talking about Brienne, like he's got like rabies.
What's the line that he has during the meeting with everyone where he's like, I don't know, he says something. He
I'll
laughs.
knight you 10 times over
No,
or something like that.
No,
That's
before
the-
that, like in
Oh.
the meeting when they're around the map and they're like strategizing.
Oh, yeah.
And he says something.
Doesn't he like straight up be like, "Hey, it's our last night in this world"? Oh no, that's when he comes in, isn't it? He says it's our last night in this.
Something like
Crap, what does he say in the?
I don't know. I'll have to
Shoot.
try to remember. But yeah. Anyways, so he comes in, and I'm glad that they finally dropped. Everyone's been theorizing and really waiting to hear Tormund's origin story. And man,
I'm
the
ready for
wait
that
has
spin-off.
paid off. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
An HBO miniseries.
An HBO web-only series, Beyond the Wall, with Tormund.
There needs to be like a
his
sitcom with
bear
a laugh
wife.
track.
Yes.
That's what I need.
But yeah, his description of how he became so strong, suckling at the teat of the wife of a giant he killed when he was 10 years old. I mean, does it get better than that? Is this the closest we'll get to a superhero in Westeros?
Yes.
And then just chugging his
Oh, it was just running down his
horn,
beard.
which what they drink is mentioned previously in the series. It's like this curdled milk that is fermented with
Yeah.
other stuff.
Right.
And so it is just milk. He's just chugging, dripping all over his beard for a long time.
Yeah, a very long
And it's
time.
disgusting
He's
and
just
wonderful.
flexing.
Yeah.
Just while staring down Brienne.
She's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was like probably the funniest moment in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
The
so
moment
good.
I've laughed the hardest,
Yeah.
probably.
It's great. Yeah, they held on it longer than long enough for it to be for me to kind of be like, stop laughing, and then they just held on for me to laugh harder again. So it's very good. But yeah, all that stuff is great. The other big thing, Brienne, I guess. There's lots of great conversation, obviously, that happens in there. But Brienne, this is Brienne getting what she wanted, what she's wanted for a really long time, and I thought it was really well done, and I thought it was pretty fitting too that Jaime is the one that knighted her. He's like, yeah, any knight can knight another knight. The dialogue could have used some more. But no, that moment was really good, and I felt like it's also cool to have, like, I don't know, the Pod Brienne relationship for me is one that is very understated, but I really appreciate, and like has this really sweet feel to it.
Yeah.
And so when they're like, he's like, I mean, I can make you a knight right now. Like, she looks at Pod, like and he's like, fuck it, do it, man. This is it. Like, and it was a really sweet moment. I really enjoyed that. But
Yeah, he's gonna have to. If she doesn't die, if neither of them die, he's got to go speak with whatever head of government. Oh yeah, I knighted her. Put it in the papers or whatever that you do, and then the recently knighted page.
Maester
Send it
so
out.
and so.
yeah.
Maester Sam.
I mean, like, and also, I mean, like, obviously the scene's there to be more symbolic and sentimental, but like, imagine her just now trying to go around after the war and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm a knight." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, guess what? Women still can't be knights in our world. No one changed that yet."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, once everything's burned down, though, it's easy to just slide that brick in while you're rebuilding everything.
Yes.
Oh, look at this on the because that's what it is. I'm pretty sure they just have a wall, and everyone.
do's
It's
and
like when
don'ts.
People contribute to building schools and they put their name on a brick, just like that. But it's just of knights. But yeah, so that was great, and I think she's gonna die.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
That's
really
the thing.
bummed.
She has gotten. She has
undead
gotten
Brienne
what she
theory
wanted.
growing in strength.
Yeah, she got what she wanted, and it's probably time for her to die. Which I don't know. I don't want that to happen. I would love for her, but of people I could see, like, I think she has a pretty high chance of going out in a pretty spectacular way, and a pretty powerful way in the next episode. So, but yeah, that was really great. Anything else from in there? Any other kind of little things?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
The song that Pod sings.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They discuss in the post-show bit about how that song's in the books, at least like the first verse, and then they kind of wrote their own lyrics for the rest of it. Songs in Game of Thrones a lot of times are almost prophetic or foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So while I was on the toilet right after the episode while you guys were waiting for me, I looked up this article. It's on IGN, and it's first off, they got the lyrics here. So keeping that in mind, here are the lyrics to that song.
Cool.
High in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts. The ones she had lost and the ones she had found, and the ones who had loved her the most. The ones who'd been gone for so very long she couldn't remember their names. They spun her around on the damp old stones, spun away all her sorrow and pain. And she never wanted to leave. And that repeats that over again. And they danced through the day and into the night, through the snow that swept through the hall. From winter to summer, then winter again, till the walls would crumble and fall. She never wanted to leave. And then I think it just repeats the first verse. So, I read that, I was like, oh yeah, more strength to my Dany dying theory. Being reunited with the one she loves, her ghosts. Yeah. But I feel like the rest of the article, if I just kind of skimmed through it, so I didn't quite catch all of it. In the lore of the books, it references one of Daenerys' ancestors who was supposed to be the heir to the throne, but didn't take it because he chose to marry this girl that was forbidden to him, and so he didn't become king. And then they also go on to say that in the books where the song is being sung has to do with this old woman giving a prophecy concerning the prince who was promised, who, like we've talked about before, they haven't gone super into in the show. They go a lot more into it in the books, but basically it's John.
Right.
So yeah, they seem to kind of draw different conclusions for it. So that, yeah, with that whole last one was being more like that. I don't know, it's just something to do with John taking the Iron Throne, so not taking the throne, being the rightful heir, so to speak, and then marrying Dany, I guess.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, there's a few possibilities with that, but I think that it is very intentional, especially with the lyrics that they wrote, which would have been the second half of that song, which is a little more revealing, I feel like.
Right.
So yeah, I'm interested to see. I still think it leans more towards Dany dying, but who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Any other moments?
I know we kind of touched on it, but they're gonna set up like a trap for the Night King with Bran
And the babies.
to kind of
That's
like
right.
and the babies. Yeah. They're gonna kind of lure him into the Godwood, and Theon said that he would go and with all of his
Yeah,
men
I've heard
and
about
protect him.
Yeah.
And so Theon's gonna die, but you know.
Death prediction. I didn't do the
I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, I don't know what the original button was.
It's usually a 3-button thing. I just pressed 2 of them. So, yeah.
But is it an air horn that you do?
No, it's more of like a foghorn. It's more of a, oh shit, I should do something here.
Oh, gotcha.
Kind of horn, you know?
Yeah. That. But also John was saying something, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're gonna, he's like, oh yeah, we can't use the dragons because they gotta guard Bran. Did you catch that?
I
yeah.
didn't
And I was
catch
like,
that,
that's why.
Yeah, that
Why are you
seems
putting
like
the
a bad
dragon-
idea.
They're the biggest thing you have.
Yeah.
They have fire and you can burn all the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have something you were going
So
to?
I do, yeah. If we're kind of done, are there any other kind of small moments? I just have a segment to close.
I feel
this
bad
out.
for insinuating that what's his face had unwilling sex with a seagull earlier in the show tonight. So I just want to call back to that. In my mind, I was thinking the seagull was forcing himself on, and it came out the other way around. So just call back,
Right.
clarification.
Yeah, so anyone working on fan art for this podcast, make sure the seaguel is the one forcing himself on Gendry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The way you
Yeah,
said it and then
those
saying that he was going to eat him, I was like,
Well, I mean, I didn't want to. This is my first time on the show, so I got to clean up my image a little bit.
but before you do the closer that you're going to, we did a little bit last time, but specifically for this next episode, who do we think is all dying in this battle?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Brienne dying, so
Yeah.
there's one.
I think Bran's a possibility.
Theon.
Theon dying, I think I agree, yeah.
Danny, I think there's a possibility.
There's a possibility of Dany, yeah.
Barrack will
Beric,
die.
yeah.
Barrack.
Sam? Maybe?
I think Sam's gonna make it to the end.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he could die, but
I think we need our Bilbo Baggins moment of
I
him
think-
being like, and the Game of Thrones, like signing the front page of the book as he closes it, goes, and then we got the
and then him immediately saying, I feel like butter script over too much bread. I think
Jorah setting
Jorah.
triple doubles.
Oh yeah.
I think Jorah I think Jorah's definitely dying.
Yeah,
I think
could see
George
that.
die.
I think he's gonna do something very important.
Well, it is notable he does have a
Valyrian steel sword.
Valyrian
Yeah.
steel going into this battle, which is
Yeah.
probably he's gonna mess some shit up. Which would be cool.
I feel like he could die trying to protect Dany from something. Because I feel like that would be how he'll
Moment
go.
one,
If
Dany.
he
Yeah.
kills the Night Dragon.
That'd be pretty
Ooh,
dope.
that'd be cool.
I'd be pretty into that.
So I was trying to think of something that would be like monumental. I'm like, he can't kill the Night King. They won't have him do that. So I'm like, what would be good enough? Killing a general wouldn't feel big enough. But killing the dragons to save Dany would be huge.
What if they find out that something about the process of removing his stone skin has made his skin impervious to White Walker
spears.
weapons? They just clink off of him, and he's just like,
It's like, oh.
boom, boom, like 6 generals down.
It's like when that guy was kneeing Theon. He's like, "Oh, that doesn't hurt," and then just beat the shit out of him.
And then Gimli stands over him and he's like, "You're full of surprises, Master Jorah."
Mithril.
Yeah, add that to the prediction stat. What's the over-under on that? Vegas right now.
Of Gimli showing up in the battle at Winterfell, I'm sure it's pretty low. You could win a lot of money.
You could win a lot of money if something.
I don't think that's how it works. You lose a lot of money.
I think the Green Dragon is dying.
Okay, yeah,
That's a prediction I got.
Did we mention? Did somebody mention Arya earlier? Possibility of Arya dying? Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned possibly dying with the.
I guess I didn't necessarily mean like she would die. That she like was in a situation where like we're thinking she's gonna die,
Yeah,
and then shoots the spear. But she could succumb to her wounds. Who knows?
Yeah.
She's like, man, sex wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. I've lost the will to live Padme style, and
She should have gone to pod.
Oh, with that, with the idea of the relationship we deserve fresh in our minds, let's move on to this last segment.
All right.
So Mitchell sent me a text. He cried it 3 times at 3 points during this episode. What times did Mitchell cry?
I think I know.
Okay.
Brienne being knighted, obviously.
Yeah.
When Davos was talking to that little girl, because it's like he's talking to Shireen again.
Okay.
And when Theon says that he will go and protect Bran.
Close.
Dang it.
So
Was it
one of them
What's
is
her score?
Sansa.
Theon.
Theon.
It's 1 out of 3.
Wow.
So one
Oh,
was
dang
it's
it.
the Sansa and Theon moment as opposed to the protecting Bran moment. So him just saying that he wants to defend Winterfell. You're pretty close with the Brienne one, but the Brienne getting knighted was not one of them.
What the? That's
Any other
Oh
guesses?
man, Sansa hugging Theon. Is that one? Like when?
Well,
When she
Theon
returns-
wanting to defend Winterfell, I think.
Oh,
is
is that
from
that's whole thing?
moment. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I mean, earlier I did say that the Arya having
Jamie
sex.
asking.
That is number 1 on this list.
Really?
I don't
What?
know. We'll have to confirm with them next week if they're given in order. But it says 1. I'm not going to read it exactly as it's written. But yes.
Wow, I was just joking about that. But,
So
does it give details
weird.
like it was because he was just in shock to see Maisie Williams take off her clothes, or like,
There's no details.
or that
Again,
he was
we'll have to
upset that he
confirm.
can't like be Maisie Williams
We can
first?
say whatever we
because-
want because he's not here. So let's just
We'll have-
assume
yeah, let's
everything.
throw some things out there, and then we can clean up this mess at the beginning of next week's episode. Okay, so we have Arya getting some, and Theon wanting to defend Winterfell.
Yeah, I want to know if it's tears of like of
Yeah, what were
emotion
those
or like
tears?
pride or fear or loathe.
She did it. All her training is what led to this.
Yeah. What a
so
weird thing.
Any other guesses on the last one? I will
You
say
got this,
it
Joe.
Jamie
is-
asking Brienne to be to serve under her.
Ding ding.
Oh
ding.
yeah!
That
Oh
is
wow,
it.
man,
Yep.
we're a good team. Good
Yeah,
team.
that was one.
got
one
this.
Mitchell is an
trivia.
open book. And I barely even know him.
Get more interesting, Mitch.
Oh, very good. Well, I think that's all. Any other closing thoughts before we sail off into the winter that is this week before the summer of next Sunday?
I will say, that being said, so after last week's episode, I like wasn't like counting down the days to tonight or anything. I wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait for Sunday to get here. This week I am.
Yeah.
Like, I am excited for the next episode, and it can't be here soon enough for me, as opposed to last week. I was like, well, it comes when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm really excited for next week, for sure. So,
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Justin, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have you back, I'm sure.
It was a ride tonight. I
Everyone
had some
was.
downs, but I think I finished up.
Yeah,
I
no,
think.
for sure. I'm right there with
That's
you.
Yeah,
Seagull
with that.
is going
Yeah, I was gonna
yes.
say the seal thing. That's where we ended
Man.
up.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
my neighbor. Everyone.